Hi everyone, so today I'll be doing a review on the Caramel Sundays 2 Wick 100% soy candle in the scent Circus Candy Clouds. The retail price of this candle is $31.99 shipped. The approximate weight of this candle is 18.4 ounces. So the company is based out of Monroe, Georgia, and this is the candle that I purchased during the March restock. And this scent is new for 2026. Fragrance notes listed online reads top sweet spun cotton candy, salted berries, middle warm toffee, butter kettle corn, base crisp apples, pink sugar. The scent description online reads our new in-house blend Circus Candy Clouds invokes all your childhood memories at the carnival with a heavy focus on the things we loved most. Sweet spun cotton candy and kettle corn with a side of some ever so loved treats. When burning, the cotton candy is front and center. However, you can actually smell the popped kettle corn. The element of freshly popped summer treats cuts the sweetness of the toffee and cotton candy, making it a well-balanced fragrance. I would say that the strength on cold was about a 6.5 out of 10. However, very much unlike the scent description, I feel like I did not get the cotton candy first and foremost, and I can barely detect any freshly popped popcorn and toffee. I mainly get that red, crisp apple scent. I do enjoy it that it doesn't smell artificial or body care, unlike some Bath and Body Works candles that I'm used to. It doesn't smell like an overly ripe apple where it's getting like those dark spots. It's getting a bit mushy. This one does smell sweet without it being overly cloying. However, in some of the marketing, I saw that there was a green apple depicted, and that was the scent I was hoping for. But going into it, I believe that online they mentioned Macintosh apples, and I thought, okay, those are definitely red. But my main critique on the fragrance on cold is just that I mainly detect apples. It seems very much one-dimensional because the more and more that I try to dissect the fragrance, then that's when I started to get the nuances. I'm like, okay, it's apples mixed in with added sweetness from the cotton candy. I do know that pink sugar, at least the fragrance oil dupe, the Aquilina pink sugar, is typically light to my nose, but that's not what I get because the pink sugar fragrance normally has a burnt edge to it, and that's not what I detect here. I feel like if you didn't tell me that there was any popcorn listed in the fragrance notes, I would have no idea. I would have no idea there's any warm toffee in here. And cotton candy, that's not the note that I get front and center. The front and center and practically only note that I get on cold, if I'm not thinking about it, if I haven't read the fragrance notes, is just red apples, and that's pretty much it. So I think it's very similar to another fragrance that they have, I believe during the fall. I think it's called Crisp Country Apple, or the one that's just like a basic apple scent. So yeah, I was a bit disappointed when I smelled this just because it wasn't the scent I was going for, and I would ideally want popcorn first and foremost instead of the apple, then followed by, let's say, the cotton candy, and then maybe the apple, and so on and so forth. So anyways, I did purchase the cotton candy candle from Caramel Sundays. I want to say over a year ago. I still have it in my inventory, and thankfully I feel like the cotton candy note smells different than the candle that I purchased last year, because something about the candle that I got last year smells almost like cotton candy. You know, like when you first lick it and it starts to get very sticky and it gets darker, and there's something a bit off about that fragrance, and that's not what I detect in Circus Candy Clouds. I feel like Circus Candy Clouds has an emphasis on this fluff, like the fluffier cotton candy that just came out from the machine. I feel like that's the note that I get, and I much prefer that. So yeah, those are my overall thoughts on the candle on cold. My overall thoughts on Circus Candy Clouds is that the main note that I get, and practically the only note that I get first and foremost, is the semi-sweet red apple note. Granted, it's well done. It's sweetened a bit by, I guess, the cotton candy, but it's so subtle that it's hard to tell it's cotton candy had I not read the fragrance notes and had those notes not been listed on the candle itself. I'm disappointed that the popcorn note almost gets completely lost. If I think really long and hard about it and like try to smell the candle again and again, maybe I get a toffee note, but it's only because I know it's in there. And this isn't that heavy toffee that it almost leans super syrupy and almost like caramel. That's definitely not it. But let me go on to tell you about the performance, because I think that's my biggest issue and one of the reasons why I would not recommend or repurchase this candle. All right, so here's an overhead view of my candle. Currently, I've had this burning for over an hour. Since I am close to the halfway mark, now it only takes me about, I would say, 30 to 45 minutes for this candle to fully pull out versus the beginning. I would say that it took me about an hour or so for this candle to fully pull out. No real issues. I feel like my flames are a little bit stronger than normal, so they are medium to high. However, I have been trimming my wicks, so I feel like that has helped a bit. I have been letting this candle burn for up to 4 hours, which normally I like to keep my burn time at around 3 hours. I'm not someone who just keeps their candles soy paraffin, or otherwise burning for like 6+ hours, unless something's going horribly wrong. But I mean, maybe I should, because something I think is going horribly wrong. And that's mainly the strength and throw. But let me get back to it. So I burned this candle on well, technically right now it's my 7th burn occasions, and I burned this candle for more than 22 hours. And let me tell you, each and every time I am barely detecting this candle. I have it in my go-to burning spot in my medium-sized bedroom. No central AC, because the weather right now is around the mid 70s. So I feel like that's not like, we just don't turn on the air at that time. I am in my medium-sized bedroom. Technically, it's considered, I guess, a master bedroom. It's at the end of the hallway, and I can only smell this maybe if I have my door closed and I am about 6 inches from this candle, and I just in a hurricane, out of a hurricane. I don't even think putting this in a bathroom with the door closed would help whatsoever. So I'm not sure exactly what's going on, but yeah, I feel like this candle is just a disappointment overall, both strength and throw. Again, in a hurricane, without a hurricane, leaving it on for a longer period of time. The candle, I believe most candles say to not burn it for more than 4 hours. So I would maybe, if I would have this burning for 6 hours or something, maybe it might improve, but I highly doubt it because I'm getting a whole lot of nothing. Anyways, so besides the fact that this candle just isn't performing, otherwise it's burning okay, I guess. There's no real instances of soot, but since my flames are a little bit medium to strong, I did do a like mid-burn trim to see if that helped on one occasion. So I had it burning for 2 hours. The flames were they were getting a bit mushroomy, so I trimmed my wicks and then immediately relit the candle, which I hardly ever do, just because I feel like that gets my wick trimmer dirty or like filled with liquefied wax. And yeah, the scent does smell different. Well, one, I can't really smell it, and two, I mainly get this nondescript sweetness. And maybe if I hover around this like small 2x2 corner in my room, I can get maybe like inklings of the apple. The popcorn, MIA. Okay, I don't even think it ever arrived. The toffee, not so much. A salted nuance, no. I'm just mainly getting some vague sweetness, if at that. So strength and throw, the strength, I'd maybe give it, for the first burn, a 2 out of 10. Right now, maybe a 2 out of 10. And projection, I mean, I guess a 2 out of 10. I don't know. This is one of the worst performing candles that I've burned from Caramel Sundays. I feel like the other one that was low strength and throw was maybe Bakery on Main. I also had strength and throw issues with that candle as well. Again, no real issues with the burn quality. The wax isn't getting discolored. I am able to reach an even wax pull within a decent amount of time. The flames are a little bit on the larger side. So I don't know if people who have gotten good performance out of the 2-wick format are just letting it burn for 6+ hours or something, but it's not working in my space. And that's to say that at first I thought, oh, did something change in my room? So I brought out a candle from a different brand that I know it's guaranteed to perform, guaranteed good. And within 15 minutes, I was able to smell it 10 times, this candle. And I thought, okay, yeah, it's the candle. It's not my room. It's not the like airflow. I even tried opening up my window to getting some natural wind. And I feel like that had the opposite effect. I feel like I could smell it less. That's all to say, I feel like this candle has just been disappointing all around, and I would not repurchase and not recommend it. If this was a candle, let's say from Bath and Body Works, that I could return or exchange, I would definitely do that. But I'm just going to go ahead, power through this, maybe leave it burning in my bathroom. But at one point in time, because I'm also testing out the Wallflower dual plug in the bathroom and the hallway that is outside of my bedroom. And at one point I thought, oh, I think I could smell the candle, but no, it was my Wallflower refill that was 2 rooms away. I could smell that over this 2-wick candle. So yeah, it's just not performing is what I'm trying to say. To briefly compare this to another fragrance that some people might draw comparisons to, that is Bath and Body Works' Summer Boardwalk. I do want to say that this isn't an exact dupe or a one-for-one, but I feel like it has similar scent notes that I think that it's in the same vein or like the same family. Bath and Body Works' fragrance notes list caramel glazed popcorn, warm taffy apples, and salty sweet cream. First off, I can actually smell the popcorn in the Bath and Body Works' Summer Boardwalk, and I think that there's a better distribution of each of the scent notes. Like I am getting a salted note. There is a sweetness from the caramel glazed popcorns, and I am getting this like candy apple scent. However, I personally don't really like the apple note in Summer Boardwalk just because it leans a little bit like, what do you call it? Artificial in the way that I can tell that this isn't a realistic apple. Like it's not a photorealistic scent. I can tell that this would be something that, let's say, a cleaning product that is apple scented would have. And I don't always like the apple notes that Bath and Body Works uses. However, I feel like Summer Boardwalk in a single wick could outperform Circus Candy Clouds from Caramel Sundays any day. However, I do enjoy Circus Candy Clouds more, at least on cold, because I'm not getting anything while it's burning. Again, I feel like the apple note is really realistic. There is a sweetness. Granted, I'm not getting any of the popcorn that I somewhat tried to search for on cold. But yeah, so I think that if you love Summer Boardwalk, I think you should just stick to Summer Boardwalk because the Circus Candy Clouds just, it's not performing, at least for me. And to briefly compare it to another fragrance from Bath & Body Works, that would be Popcorn and Slushy. That was a new fragrance that came out for 2025, a part of their Perfect Together collection. That one reads a movie marathon with a blue raspberry slush and a large buttered popcorn. So again, there are a lot of notes that aren't present in Popcorn and Slushy that you do see in Circus Candy Clouds and vice versa. But I personally feel like had Circus Candy Clouds performed for me, I think this would have been a good combination. Or heck, even if you're someone who picked up Circus Candy Clouds and you are getting a good performance out of it, I think that Popcorn and Slushy is a good candle to blend it with. Granted, the popcorn note in Popcorn and Slushy is more towards the back seat, but I get the popcorn note a lot more in Popcorn and Slushy, only when I compare it to Circus Candy Clouds. So yeah, that has been my experience. Again, I've burned this candle 6 times. This is my 7th burn, over 20 hours. I think at this point in time, I know if this candle is going to perform or not, and this one just is not performing. There's barely any strength, hardly any throw, and I might just end up maybe putting this in a crock underneath a candle lamp, or heck, putting it in the bathroom and seeing what happens, because I would not venture to put this in an open concept space. I also asked my sister if she could burn this in her smaller office space, and it did not perform in there as well. So yeah, just be mindful of the flames, because my flames are, again, medium to strong. And I feel like they get a little bit strong after hour 2. So this might be a candle that would benefit from a mid-burn trim. So you extinguish your flames, trim them, and immediately relight. But yeah, sadly, a hurricane couldn't solve the problems that I'm having. I would not repurchase this candle, and I wouldn't recommend. But let me know if you have had a better experience, or just maybe yours is powerhouse. Who knows? But yeah, thanks so much for watching, and I hope you have a great day. Okay, bye.